One mic live in 1 minute.
One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice.
Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show, building the collective conscious. Show that's created to give space where your voice, ideas, and informed opinions can be heard, appreciated, and debated. You are with Michael Eric Owens in the One Mic studio. Back up at it or backed up in it, however you want to look at it. I am here today with you. Got a hot topic. Got a very hot topic I want to talk about. Let me just slide this music on down so we can get down. Folks, listen. We've had a lot of things happen over the course of the past few months, and I have been looking for words, looking for how to articulate my thoughts. And while there have been court cases going on, we had the Rittenhouse in Kenosha, we had the brother Ahmaud Arbery. We had his case decided. It's been a lot. It's been difficult. It's been traumatic, to say the least. And so I wanted to just kind of sum up my thoughts in this podcast, and maybe these things are interwoven into our conversation, but this is not. That is not the specific conversation that I want to go into. This podcast is titled United States of Control, not the United States of America, United States of Control. And we can sum up what's happening in our country today in one simple word: control. It has been historically, I think, the definition or the purpose of the system, the American system, is to control. It's to control. Those in power have always felt the need to control. I mean, we can We can look at it as laws, we can look at it as regulations, we can look at it as the educated class making decisions, but it is at the core, at the base, at the foundation of all of this is a need to control. But why? Why is there a need to control? We live in a quote unquote democracy. Democracy. We taught ourselves as being the most vibrant, the most inclusive, the most we would say given the individual citizen the human rights, we would taught ourselves as being the best democracy that mankind has ever seen. You see, in a democratic system of government, the whole population or all its eligible members of the state typically participate. So why is there this need to control? The desire to control comes from fear, from fear. And it's not necessarily a fear that people would say someone's going to hurt me, or a fear that causes certain alarm to the person, but it is a fear of change, a fear of change. Change is difficult to handle on any level. I don't care if you an elementary school student. You like for things to stay the same. So change, even for adults, is difficult to handle. But the fear of America changing is the reason why we have a system of control. We're all supposed to participate in this democracy. Matter of fact, I would say participatory democracy is you can't have a democracy without it. If every voice does not have equal weight, then do you really have a democracy? We have to begin to question that. But we have a system that is designed to control. It's designed to control. You see, we if we participate in a democracy, then all of us have access to education. We have the promise of economic participation. We have the promise of access to health care and employment. Democracy calls for all of us, regardless of age or regardless of race or gender or social economic status. It all says, come in, you are welcome to participate. But when we look at our country today, we find that the system wants to control who has access to education, to health care, who has access to generational wealth. Now, clearly, no one in our, let's just say our congressional leaders, because they are the ones that are making the laws. We could talk about our judges who actually usher in judgment. So when we're talking about these individuals in power, right, we find that the ability to participate becomes less and less. That there are roadblocks that are thrown into every area of this democracy. I mean, we can go back to Reconstruction. We can go back to the black codes. We can go back to segregation. We can go back in time, and we do realize that these were laws to do what? To control, to prevent. Well, when we even think about what's happening now with the woman's right to choose, or I would like to classify it as a woman's ability over her own body. When we look at this, what is that about? It's about control. But it's funny when you think about how a society functions. A healthy society can only function when people are free to make their own decisions about their lives. They're free to participate. They're free to have access to. They have choices. They can coexist. Yet we live in the United States of control. Again, why do they seek to control? Change. Change. Not just any old change. You see, they view change, and when I mean they, I mean those who have been in power. And let's be honest, for the majority of this country's history, it has been white men have been in power. Now, this is not an indictment on all white men, but if you happen to be a white man in power, then you might want to pay attention. As the old saying says, if the shoe fits, wear it. So this idea of they, right? Change. See, it's not just any old change. They view change as loss. They're losing something. So for this country to become more inclusive and more diversified and to have more diverging voices at the table, that means that the person in power is losing something. It sounds very selfish. It's very, very selfish. But that's the reality of those in power. Why in the world would you restrict access to voting when that is the bedrock of a democracy? Why? Because you don't want things to change, right? Why would you make it so difficult for poor whites and poor blacks and poor Latinx to get a decent education? Because that means many will enter into the workforce more equipped, more qualified, and that means change. And to them, that means loss. I'm losing something. I want you to get the idea that these people that are in power, they are afraid. I mean, you think about it, these are the elected leaders. These are people that should be representing us. Why are they afraid of us? I think we see it the opposite. We say, oh, they have all the power, but really they are in fear because they believe they will lose that power. They will lose that prestige. They will lose that money. They will lose that influence. And trust me when I say this, many of them are looking at their kids and their grandkids, and they do not want their kids to grow up in a world where people that don't look like them control this world. It's a fight. It's a battle. Arthur says most people in power are selfish. That's how they came to power. Those who are selfless tend to sacrifice power for the greater good. I could not have said it better. Yes, it's very selfish. It's all, and think about a democracy. A democracy is not about an individual. It's about the group. When we make a democratic decision, what do? We weigh the decision. We look at different point of views, right? And then we come to a conclusion. We vote. And guess what? Even though I may be in charge, if I come down on the side of the minority, the majority wins. That is a true democracy. But oftentimes what happens is the majority is ignored. Yeah, look at this country. When you can do any poll when you talk about woman's right to choose, when you talk about access to health care, you talk about college being more affordable. The majority of Americans say these things should happen. Reparations, the majority of Americans say black folks should get paid. They don't know what it is, haven't figured it out, but there should be some compensation. So when you look at the majority of the country, when it comes to more access to the voting booth, you find that most Americans say yes. But what happens? What happens? That doesn't That doesn't occur. And the reason why, and this is what Arthur points out, we have people in power that are selfish. They're only thinking about their own self-interest and the self-interest of those who look like them. Right? And so what do we end up with? We end up with this constant struggle, this constant battle, this tug of war that's happening every day in America. Those who do not want this country to change. You know, we might look at it a little differently. This country has always been a diverse country. It's always been. Folks came over here. There were people already here. There were native peoples already here. They brought in Africans, enslaved them. We are in fear of facing who we truly are. We have always been, as they say, a melting pot, a country of immigrants. We have always been, yet and still, we want to control that narrative. That's why people say we're a Christian nation when we have always had multiple religions in this country and those of no faith. But controlling the narrative again prevents us from changing. It is a war that we fight each and every day. You see these people in power, they view this system as a system of winners and losers. And the only way to win is to control. Yeah. Imagine we're fighting against the very people we have elected to office. And what are we fighting for? We're fighting for them to do what they said they were going to do. I mean, they run on these platforms. I mean, from Biden to Trump to Barack they run on these platforms and we vote and we say, yes, we agree this needs to happen. And when they get there, they fail us. Every single time. They fail us. You say, well, that's a little harsh, Mike. Well, look at the condition. If I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me he can work with me and he can cure me and I put my faith in him, but my condition keeps getting worse, do I keep believing that doctor is going to do what he says or she's going to do? Sooner or later, you have to realize that they are working a system of control, right? But who are these people they want to control? This is when it hits home. It's minorities. It's women. It's the invisible people. They don't see. If they saw, if these men that make decisions about women's choices, I cannot understand why every woman, and frankly, every man is not appalled at the idea of men making decisions over women's bodies. You want to know why? Because women have been objectified from the beginning. They're seen as property. Matter of fact, they were property. Women couldn't even get a checking account or get a bank account without their husband's permission. They couldn't own property. They couldn't vote. They couldn't even work outside the home. The phrase barefoot and pregnant, that's what this society viewed women, and they still have this archaic view of women. But this is where I have a problem with women. Because many women don't understand that your struggle is the same struggle as the black and the Latinx and the poor white man. We're all in this struggle together. No. This is a movement. What do women want? They want equality. We want equality. What do women want? They want to sit at the table. We want to sit at the table. What do women want? They want to have the power to make their own decisions. We want to have the power to make our own decisions. If you think that black men in this country have the power to make their own decisions, okay. You need help. When people say to me, or mainly women, when women say, yes, well, men don't respect women, or men are in charge and they don't respect women, and men can in charge can do whatever they want to do. Guess what? Don't say men. Those are white men. Black men have not run this country. Latino man has not ran this country. Native men have not ran this country. Asian men have not ran this country. Don't throw us all in the same pot together. We have the same struggle. And at one time, women did recognize that. Women were very instrumental in assuming that black people, back then, black men, got the right to vote. Now, there can be an argument made that black men have not worked, or Latinx men have not worked as hard as we could to help the women's movement. Their argument can be made for that. I'm not saying we've done everything we can, but one thing I'm saying, I do not see this as separate movements. I see it as one movement. We want the same things. And we're fighting against those who we have elected to do that, and they won't. Why? Because they are afraid. They're afraid of change. And what does change look like? I think it's an easy concept. I don't understand why people cannot comprehend this. But that's the system, because remember I said we are the invisible people. We are invisible to them, but they are blinded to the truth. Lisa says women also want and deserve safety and protection and respect. I couldn't agree with that more. I couldn't agree with that more. We live in a society where women are vulnerable, right? Where women are preyed upon. But then again, I can say this in agreement with what she's saying. Black man needs safety and protection and respect. We're the ones that are getting slaughtered in the city streets. The thing is, like she points, we're in this together. I've been saying that for years. Couple decades I've been saying that. We have to understand that we are not fighting each other. We are fighting a system that is ran by not the majority, but the minority. Right? Folks, we're on the plantation, and Master is running everything. But if we only look around, there be more with us than be with them. And what are we going to do about that? Folks, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to come back and get deeper into this. Hang with me. This is Michael Eric Owens, host of the One Mic, One Voice show. I want to give a shout out to all of our listeners all across the globe. Thank you for your undivided attention and for your conversation. You can catch us every Sunday on YouTube, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can also catch us on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, on any one of those lovely, wonderful podcasting platforms you love to listen to. Please always remember, you can change the world. It's your choice. Today I'm talking about United States of Control. Man, this has been a historic struggle. I mean, people have lived and died fighting against this system, and this is where we are at. This is where we are at. I'm not satisfied. with where we are at. Neither should you be. But what do we do about that? That's the question. Do you feel helpless? Do you feel that you have no ability to bring about change? I've been there. Man, at days I'm still there. But we can do better. I'm convinced that we can do better. If we figure this thing out, if we start having the right conversations, if we start organizing in the right way, not in this siloed way. When I see all of these different groups out here trying to do the same work, not communicating with one another because of their own ego and selfishness. Remember, we said a democracy is not about an individual. It's about the collective. It's about the group. It's about you. It's about me. I should want this for you, and you should want this for me. This selfishness, this individualistic way of looking at the American system is a cancer. And I know we have this celebrity culture where we worship these influencers but listen, people are literally dying in our country, and we can do something about it. We can do something about it. You see, they created a system that appears to be normal. Like, that's what I said. They're behind the veil. They're the blind people because they see this system as normal. They don't think anything is wrong with the system, but it's only normal to those who sleepwalk, those who are blind, those who are living behind the veil. You know, Ellison talks so much about invisibility, about the inability to be seen by others. But those who do not see are seeing in a different world. They're seeing in a different reality. And that reality does not include the majority of Americans. The world in which they live, they're very comfortable because everything reinforces their own notion of superiority and their individuality. That's why they can't see us, because we don't look like them. We don't talk like them. We don't act like them. That's why they reject diversity, because we don't make them feel comfortable. Because we challenge the very notion of their reality. And if they embrace the challenge of their reality and begin to talk about it and to meditate on it, doubt sets in. Truth, as Ellison says, light, right? We shine light, and light is truth, and truth is light. Ellison's words. And so these are the blind people. And some of them are running around here saying they're woke, but they're really asleep. They had this transcendent moment in their life, and they think they are walking around, but they are, I can use this phrase, the walking dead. They're not alive. They may be woke in the sense that their egos, their egos are being fed by what they say they believe in, but what's behind the veil, they can't even see themselves. That's where we're at. This is a war for democracy. Because true democracy, I wouldn't have to be afraid of losing my right to vote. In a true democracy, I wouldn't be afraid to speak my mind at my place of work. In a true democracy, I would feel like I had the opportunity to compete just like everybody else. In a true democracy, I would not be discriminated against because the color of my skin. In true democracy, I would not be told to be patient because guess what? Yeah, we're going to take care of you. That's what they told Dr. King, to be patient. And look where we're at now. In a true democracy, these people can only see, hear, and value those who have bought into and accept this system of control as normal. Because this system, get this, folks, lets them live in freedom. Yeah. Let me repeat that. These people can only see and hear and value those who have bought into and accepted this system of control as normal because this system lets them live in freedom. I'm going to make a point here. Stay with me. My point being that if you notice, when this very system tries to control them in any aspect of their lives, what happens? Well, let's bring up the vaccine. Oh, the system is great. But until you say vaccines are mandatory, no, they push back, right? But the invisible people have been pushing back for generations to their deaf ear. Let's go into mask mandates. They push back. Any type of gun control regulation, any climate regulation, affirmative action, teaching of diversity, equity, and inclusion, they push back. They're pushing back against critical race theory now, right? That nobody's teaching, simply because they don't want their children to be taught true American history. Why? Because their children will be changed. And for them, change means loss. And this is the big one. Police reform. Anything that infringes upon their quote unquote freedom, they have a problem with. But black and brown people in this country have been calling out this government from the federal to the state to the local level for generations, calling them out, echoing the same old thing. We want freedom too. We want access too. We don't want you to lose yours, but we want ours. We want to be able to walk around this city, this country, without fear of being killed. We want to know that when we apply for a job, we're going to have the same opportunity to get the job, to be promoted. That's what we want to know. We're not saying place ourselves above you. We're saying we want the same access. Why? Because we're in a democracy. Everyone has the same rights, theoretically. I tell you, we're in a war. This control helps them maintain their supremacy. Even if we don't call it white supremacy. Because see, when you say white supremacy, then people get upset. I'm not a white supremacist. No. I'm not hanging out with neo-Nazis, and I don't believe. Yet and still, you're in a privileged class. And with privilege comes supremacy. Right? When you walk in a store, nobody's following you around. When a black kid does something wrong, they look at the whole black community. When a white person does something wrong, he's got mental issues. Oh, he doesn't answer for his entire race. We're living in a society where a system continues to control black and brown people and women and poor white to maintain power and supremacy and to prevent any level of change. And until we recognize that, until we start having these conversations, I'm not talking about these woke conversations about equality, this, that, and the other thing. No. I'm talking about real serious dialogue about a system that works great for those it was designed to work great for. And even if you are running around here for equality for black people, the system still benefits you. And you don't acknowledge that. Oh, let me back up. I've heard it acknowledged in words. Well, I know but what are you willing to do about it? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice? What price are you willing to pay so that your brother and your sister can live as you live? That's what this is all about. How long will we grapple with this? That one race is smarter than the other race, or one race has excelled over another race, that simply because of the color of your skin, you're not a violent person, and you're thrifty, and you're not lazy. And how much longer, how archaic do we have to be? We're all born of a woman. Every one of us. Every one of us came into this world the same way. None of us had the opportunity to choose our place of destination, our country, the color of one's skin, the neighborhood we would grow up in, our families. None of us. It's by chance. It's the luck of the draw. I don't know how the Creator decides, but He decides. But yet we come into this world and we say, you are better than that. And because you are better, you are privileged. How much longer will we feed this garbage to our children? Let me say this. It's not about right or left, red or blue. It's not really even about black or white, because poor whites are in the same predicament as minorities and women, and they just don't know it. It's about controlling, and by controlling, they maintain their power that will forever prevent this country from changing. You know, the next time a person says to you that they really want to see change, I want you to ask them, what does change look like for them? Do they even know the system in which rewards some and punishes others? And finally, are they willing to pay the price for change? Because history will speak of us. Somewhere in the distant future, a scribe will reach down deep into the archives of our time, and what will she find? Will she discover that we overcame our differences? Will she find that out of many, we became one? Or will she find that we solved nothing and remain a divided peoples? Yes, history will speak of us.
One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice, your choice.
We can make a difference if we try. We can beat the change that's in our lives. All we gotta do is work together. We gotta raise our children better. We gotta stop the hate and spread the love.
One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. Your choice.
Thank you for downloading the One Mic, One Voice show. Take a moment and subscribe and share. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platform. Thank you for your continued support and for your voice. You can change the world. It's your choice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the One Mic, One Voice show are not the views, thoughts, and opinions of our sponsors.